Hey everyone, doing some TDB here, bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Gonna be sort of continuing on my theme of, some factory recipes here. So today, I'm gonna be doing the Spring of Menghai from Dayi Factory. So definitely a big factory. And this recipe, you'll notice is fairly. You'll notice it around. There's at least a few years of it, and my guess is, just from what I know about it, that this is a pretty high production. This is definitely not one of those like more exclusive dyes that you're going to get a higher price. In fact, this is one of the teas that does seem to be always a little bit cheaper than their signature recipes, stuff like 7542 and 8582. So it's not the most premium blend, but Dayi makes quality tea in my view, and I like a lot of their tea, so I was curious to bring this on, especially because there's been a number of productions throughout the years. The one I'm drinking is from 2006. It has been Taiwan stored, got it from another TWL blind tasting. And I think I kind of liked the tea more than the consensus at the time. My original notes were sweet, resinous, a bit astringent, nice texture, and I gave it a 6 rating when I wasn't even sure what it was. I actually liked it more than 7532, even though I suspect this is probably a cheaper tea than that tea. So I'm kind of curious to bring this back after a few months and retry it. Again, similar to previous episodes, I've already drank a couple steeps. This is steep number 3 here, using 5 grams, 75 milliliters, as I have been doing sort of steadily throughout these episodes. Take a smell too. Yeah, it's very, very floral. It reminds me a bit of floral and grassy in comparison to something like 7542. So that reminds me, those notes remind me a little bit more of something like a 7532, which I just had yesterday. Excuse me. So yeah, a little bit higher noted. A good chance that it could be from a similar storage to that 75322, which could also play a part. The 7542s and 8582s I've had from Taiwan, definitely a little bit less of those like grassy notes and more fruit or wood or something like that. Anyways, cheers. As is typical, this being the 3rd steep, it's the strongest that I've had so far of this tea. So almost a little bit of sour, astringent here. Definitely the most astringent brew of these, a bit drying. A little bit of resin, not as much as I noted in my previous notes. Yeah, definitely heavy in that sort of like grassy wood area. I've seen, I think it may have been Marshall or someone like that, speculate on the material of this and whether it's potentially Bada or not. Menghai Tea Factory does own a lot of Bada plantations, at least that's my understanding of it. So that seems like a reasonable guess. I can't speak to that. I feel like I don't know the character of Bada quite well enough, but it is kind of stereotypically sort of that grassy profile. So I guess I can sort of connect the dots there. Okay, so doing steep number 4 here. And that steep was decent, I would say. Still a little bit green for my personal liking. I tend to not care for those grassy profiles that much. Definitely fairly aromatic. Okay, so steep number 4 here. Still keeping it pretty light because that brew was quite strong. Maybe moving a little bit into that brown sugar realm too. So a little bit of like potentially sugar cane here. Not bad, not bad. Cheers. Still a little drying on the mouth. I am getting a little bit of sweet aftertaste to this, but maybe hints of past smoke. Not a very smoky tea. In general, I'd say of all the factory teas I've brought on, if there was smoke in them, it has definitely aged out at this point. Yeah, pretty strong. Little bit of bitterness, but I'd say this is more astringent and drying than it is really upfront and bitter. Starting to move a little bit into more darker tones, so a little woodier, and a little bit less grassy, perhaps. That sort of could be a hint at the directions that this tea will go. And, I basically like this tea. I think it's a decent enough tea as long as expectations are sort of properly set. It's got flavor. You can see how this can age. It's probably a little upfront in the nature and a little bit less sort of on the back end or like rewarding in the aftertaste than I would personally prefer. But depending on the price of something like this, especially considering that it tends to fetch a cheaper price, I think it's a pretty okay buy. I did not do much price research before hitting the record button here, so I'm not sure, but my impression has always been that this tends to be a much cheaper version. This tea, 15 years, I'd say it's just getting to that sort of drinkable stage. Could definitely use some more time, probably another 10 to 15 more years, ideally, is my guess. I don't know. I am someone that prefers aged tea, so I'm approaching it from that sort of perspective and lens of like liking the tea to be a little bit mellowed and smooth out. So some people would maybe be like 25, 30 years. What the heck? This tea's ready to drink now. But for me, at least, I can only sort of speak towards that perspective. Ooh, yeah, that's strong. Yeah, the sourness is definitely a little different than the 7532. Interesting. I mean, I've only had a handful of steeps here, so the rating is sort of like just a limited scope into what I feel about the tea just at this moment. So I would say I like it maybe comparably to the 7532. So gonna give it a what did I give that tea? A 5.8 rating. I think that seems about reasonable for this tea. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Let me know if there are some other Menghai recipes or Shagwan recipes you would be curious about me checking out. Definitely open to ideas. Let me know if you tried the Spring of Menghai and what your impressions have been. For me, at least, I definitely rank this well below 75842 and 8582, at least the good production of it. And, it's not worth like jumping like really diving deep to grab, but if you have a chance to sample and something like that, I think it is well worthwhile. It is similar but different to other Menghai Tea Factory productions, and the price is pretty reasonable. So thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.